So what have we done? In the face of those exceptional circumstances, we had to resort to exceptional measures. And what we had to do, if I want to oversimplify it, is make sure that there was plenty of liquidity in the system, that there was no seizure, that there was no contraction to the point where money would not flow in the economy. So we used the tools that were there, and we amended them a bit, we changed them, but we really massively delivered liquidity in the system so that banks could continue providing financing, so that you could actually take out cash from the bank or from any cash point. Liquidity in the system, make sure that it flows without interruption and in abundance, so that there is no sense of, the risk that it suddenly slows and stops. That's one thing. The second thing that we had to do was also to provide as much financing as was possible, so that those companies, whether tiny, medium or large, could also continue to operate. And that despite the lockdown measures that were taken, there was not that sudden stop where companies suddenly could not make payroll, could not pay employees, could not pay the rent, and where we would have had that sort of freezing impact that would have been even more damaging than what we had. So making sure that credit flowed throughout the economy was also one of our key objectives at the time. And we put in place, again, massive means in order to accelerate financing and support the banks in the mission that they have to provide financing to all the economic actors. As I said, to the small entrepreneur, to the large accounts, all of them needed to have the working capital that was needed in order to continue to operate. So I'm deliberately not using, massive numbers, because what they mean is the mean numbers, because what they mean is the mean to an end. And the end was that liquidity in the system, no seizure, and making sure that financing flew as much as possible so that economic activity could continue unaffected by financing restrictions. And we also had to make sure that our monetary policy, this price stability objective that we have, is and was channeled and was transmitted throughout the euro area, which we indeed have a responsibility for. I would say the final thing that we did, and then I'll go to your questions and questions of those in the audience. The final thing we did was, in cooperation with all the other large central banks of the world, make sure that there was access to the most to the currencies most in demand. And naturally, as we saw a sort of what we called a dash for cash, everybody wanted to have as much liquid assets as possible and cash if need be. There's always a dash for dollars, because it is currently the international currency of reference, and it is always, in those circumstances, much in demand. Another currency that was much in demand is the euro. So we also put in place swap lines, repo lines, with those countries that were in need of euros. And we had that sort of network of swap lines amongst ourselves, central bankers, to make sure that currencies most in demand would actually be available to the countries that needed them. I think
global liquidity to any market, any country, any place, anywhere. Fully exchangeable to any currency, asset, or commodity. Transactions are settled in 4 seconds. XRP is traded 24/7, 365 days a year, everywhere in the world. Removing friction from global trade, removing barriers, removing borders. XRP transfers value anytime and all the time. From you to any place on Earth.